Okay, so in this module, you're also going to cover how to create links or style links. And this is the MDN page that you should be learning all of that. And we're going to look at something called a pseudo class selector, which I will explain in just a minute. So before we actually get to this, I want to actually make sure that you know how to create links. So I have a basic page that I've already saved. It has the basic structure and text that's ready to have a link in it and some style that makes the paragraph really big like you see here. So to actually add a link, what you do is you find the words that you want to create a link. Now, one thing I want to tell you is that don't highlight an entire paragraph or a lot of words. It should be the specific words that tell people when they click on it where it's going to go. It shouldn't say visit here today, because then that doesn't tell me where it's going to go. But by saying Google, it tells me it's going to go to Google, which makes sense to me as the end user. So just a couple of good rules to live by when creating links. So I don't want to create a link out of this entire paragraph. I just want to create it out of this word Google. So I need to add the link tag around it. Now, the link tag is one of the ones that is not as intuitive as the other ones, like P for paragraph. This one is called A. So I'm going to add the A tag around it, and I'm going to cut and paste so it goes around the text. So technically now I've added the tag to turn this into a link. But if I save this and I come here, notice that nothing has changed. And the reason why is because the A tag needs to also have something called an attribute that tells it where the actual link should go. So after the first A in the first tag, we're going to type href equals quote quote. So this is considered the attribute, and it's always followed by an equal sign and then quote quote, and inside of the quotes you put your value. And the value for a link is whatever the URL is. Now you could type that in there, but chances are you'll probably just put like google.com, and that won't actually work. You need the full URL. So even though when you go to Google it says google.com, you actually want to right click and copy the URL, come into the attribute area, the value area, and hit paste. And notice that it puts the full thing with HTTPS, so Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, /2 www.google.com/ and then there's that end quote. So that's why you really want to copy and paste the URL and not type it in, because your chances are you're going to get something wrong. Even if you get everything right, I always forget the dang S and then it causes issues. So just copy and paste. So now if I do file, save, and come here, you can see that now all of a sudden this has changed font colors and it's got this underline. Now traditionally the link would be blue, and that's what we have known since the internet first started. All links were blue, and people are used to that. They don't have to be blue, which is something we're going to cover in this video or in this module, but they need to be some color other than the black of the text color or whatever the text color is on your site, so that people can see visually that there's something different about this word. So it's usually something that triggers us to know that we can click on it. Now mine is purple because when I clicked on it, it opened Google. And when I go back, it actually shows a visited color, what color the link changes when you've actually visited it. This is a visual cue to people as well, that they have already clicked on that link. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about because we've all used the internet enough to know that. We can also change that color as well. So the other thing I want to tell you before we start working on styles is that when I clicked on Google, it opened it up in my website, and I have to hit back in order to go back to my website. One thing I do is with outside websites, if it's not going to a page in my internal website, then I always add an attribute called target equals quote quote, and the value is _blank. What this is going to do is when somebody clicks on it, it's going to open it into a blank tab or window. So again, I'll save this, come back here. Now when I click, it opens up in its own tab, and I just have to close it or click on this tab to get back to my website. So again, I do that for every external link on my site. So now how can we style this? If we go back to this MDN, there are link states that we can style. Let's talk about a couple of those. Link is the destination, just where you want it to go. And then the visited is what it looks like after you've actually clicked on it. Hover is what it's looked like, or what it looks like when the user's mouse hovers over it. And then focus is when you hit tab, like if I hit tab here on this website, see how it focuses on this URL area? If I hit tab again, it focuses on the Google link. And it's going to do that because if it's usually for accessibility purposes is, if somebody can't click on things, or they don't use a mouse, or they have a disability that prevents them from using the mouse, then they use their keyboard and they hit tab to go to all the interactive elements on a site. And because there's only 2 on this, the URL area where they can type in a URL, or they can click on this Google, then when I hit tab, it's going to jump between. So we can actually change what it looks like when we hit tab. The other thing is active. So what it looks like when it's actively being clicked on. So down here, let's see, you can read more about this, and I highly recommend you do. And then the other thing we need to know for these styles is that all of these pseudo class selectors have to be styled in this order. You can't have a link come after a hover, and you can't have a come after a focus. It has to go in this specific order. So we'll go ahead and copy this and put it into our styles so that we can start styling the different areas. So as we come to MDN website, these are just basic styling for the actual different paragraph and body of your site. But for right now, we are going to focus on these. And what I recommend is that you try out each of these styles and see what they do. So I'm going to go after A, and I'm going to put outline, colon, none, semicolon, save it, come here, refresh it, and it doesn't look like anything happened there. But if I were to hit tab, see how it's not outlining, it's jumping here, and then it jumps over here, and we can't see that it's doing what it used to do when we hit tab. We're going to add that back in later so we can make our own styles, but we almost had to like take it out so that we can add our own styles in later. So let's go ahead and put text decoration, and that is that underline. So I'm going to put none and save. And all of a sudden now you see that there is no underline there. And then we're going to put some padding. So padding is just spacing, and it's going to be hard to see this because you don't see any spacing with it right now. But I'm going to put 2px, 1px, and 0. All right, there we go. Save. You can see a little bit of a shift, but I'll take it out later to show you what it did. So now we're going to say, okay, what should the link color be like? And I'm just going to make this the same color so you can see what they're doing. So you should follow along with me or follow along with the MDN website. So we're going to do hashtag 265301 semicolon, save, come back here, and it's not showing anything. Well, the reason why is because I've already clicked on Google, so it's using the visited pseudo class selector. If you don't click on Google, if you don't click on the link that it gives you, then it would probably show you whatever color this is. It's a dark green, okay? So then we're going to say, okay, what does visited look like? Well, visited should be color of hashtag 437A16. Okay, so now we should be able to see something because I did visit that, so now I'm seeing a lighter shade of green. So if you want to, you can just put, like I can put pink, hot pink. I just do garish colors because that helps me to see what's going on. Now you can see that hot pink a little bit better. So then what is focus going to look like? Remember, focus is where we hit tab. So now if I'm hitting tab, you can see it here, but nothing happens here. But watch what happens when we add some things here. We're going to put a border bottom. There we go. And we're going to make it 1 pixel solid. And then we're actually going to make a background color. And you could do the background color that's happening over here. Again, I like to use garish colors, so I'm going to do just a basic yellow. So save it, refresh it. Now if I hit tab, see how when I hit tab, now all of a sudden we have this 1 pixel solid bottom border and the yellow color. So if I hit tab and go between, you can see now we're seeing that pseudo class of a focus. What happens when you focus on it using the keyboard. So then we're going to see what happens when it is hovered over with your mouse. So we're going to do the same thing, border bottom. And we're going to change that to 1 pixel solid. And there's a bunch of different things you can do. Like you can do dashed. I believe you can do dashed, and you can make it like 6. It's going to look hideous, but there you go. And we can do a background color. Let's do aquamarine. Oops, we need to do a background color. Background color. Aqua. Oops, it's not doing it. Color. Aqua. What is it? What is the deal? Okay. Aquamarine. All right. So save that. Now when you hover over, see how it has the aquamarine and it has a dashed 6-pixel border? So that is in fact working. And once you got it working, then you can start taking out the ugly styles and putting in your really good looking styles that match your website. So again, just use garish colors and garish settings until you know it's actively working. So then what does active look like? Well, we're going to do a background that is a specific color. Let's do black. Yeah, let's do black. And then we're going to do a color, a font color of white. Just keep it simple. So save that. When I hover over, it looks this way. Now when I click, see how all of a sudden the background is black and the font is white? That's because that's what the active looks like. When you press down and I'm still holding the button on my mouse, that is what that actually looks like. So this is how we actually make buttons, is we style them this way, and then we come back through and make them look really good. So I can put a background here, background color of, let's do beige. That's ugly, but then it's gonna, see how that starts to look like a button because it has a square from the get-go. And we can do some padding, and I'll show you what padding looks like. Let's do 8 pixels to make it really noticeable. And see how all of a sudden it has a lot more space? That's what padding does. It adds some space inside that container of the background color. And then the visited color, still showing a deep pink. Focus, and then the hover, I would actually take out this, I don't like the bottom border. And let's change this to a different color. Black. So let's save that. There we go. See how now you're seeing it looking more like a button. Now you wouldn't want to do that in an actual paragraph. You just want to do basic, changing the color or putting an underline or hovering an underline or whatever. But if for some reason we didn't have visit in today and we just wanted this to look like a button, this is literally what we would do for it. So hopefully that helps you. Make sure you really read through this content because it's going to explain a lot more than I had time to do in this video for you. But this is literally how we're starting to make buttons, navigation for our website, and links in the actual text. So if we look at their example, where the heck is it? Here it is. You can see that all of these have like a green monochromatic styling, but this is a good style and a way to show how you can make people know that it's clickable just from hovering over some of the different looking text.